Hi, Kat.
Um,
Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 4 now, I think we said, didn't
yeah.
we? I'm in a different setup than usual at my mum's, and I've literally I'm going to try to tilt my camera, sat on a dining room chair on the side of the thing, but all good. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Um, in today's episode, we're going to talk about symptoms. And I'll probably just leave it as that because it's quite a broad conversation, really, because I think we're just going to talk about predominantly like the symptoms that affect us day to day, our opinions on like flare-ups and whether they're relapses and what affect just generally just what affects us day to day, I'd say, wouldn't you? Like,
Yeah.
because then for people that are listening that also have MS, it's good to kind of hear that other people may be going through the same, or to be able to be like, oh right, like that's what it is, that's normal. And also for people that don't have MS that are learning from like an education point of view, it is dubbed an invisible illness. So this is a good way to learn that even when we look well, we probably aren't well. Not to be, that sounds so morbid, doesn't it? Even when we look well, we're not well. But that's what it is, really, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically I did my normal night before research and ended up going on a massive fucking tangent of all sorts of things. So basically I was kind of trying to find out, obviously we have relapses, which a sudden onset of like quite severe neurological symptoms, which can last from 2 weeks to 6 months, like however long the relapse wants to go for, it will go for. But then I was thinking, obviously in between relapses we have symptoms. I have symptoms every single day, like all kinds of different things. It's literally the most random, and we will go through like the list I wrote out, and then me and Sam are going to kind of compare notes on our own symptoms. But yeah, like I wasn't sure. I kind of just assumed that everyone else had what I have, which is obviously such a wide range of symptoms every single day. Sometimes it's just annoying, and sometimes it's like will completely sort of ruin my day, essentially. But I found out that there is actually a term for this, because I think some people with MS have like no symptoms particularly between their relapses, but I mean, that's not how it is for me, so I just kind of didn't really think anything of it, and just assumed that everyone else was the same, but apparently not. I mean,
They
this is
do
all
call
data that
it, as I say, they do say as well, don't they? It's like the snowflake disease, and that everyone experiences it differently. So,
Yeah, definitely. And also, it's made me realise that actually I have such an accumulation of damage because my MS was left for so long. To go off on a bit of a tangent, I was just saying this to Sam, so she's heard it all before, and it's probably not that interesting for her. But for me, I was actually looking at symptoms in children that have MS and what are the kind of really early signs of MS. And one of them was extreme fatigue and lethargy, which is what I dealt with from being a really young teenager. And that obviously we talked about that in the first podcast when I was falling asleep all the time. And yeah, I just literally fall asleep everywhere. But apparently that is not a common symptom in adults with MS. It's only in children with MS. So that is like an early onset symptom. So thinking about that, and it was, ask anyone that knew me when I was a teenager that I was just sleepy girl. And it sort of made me think that actually the accumulation of damage and lesions I must have from, ever since I was 13, 14, is probably why I have such a wide range of symptoms. And I was only diagnosed last year, but actually this disease has been running riot in my central nervous system for 10 plus years, which is why I feel so strongly about this early intervention stuff. But we're going to leave that for today and actually just talk about the symptoms that we kind of deal with from a day-to-day basis. So, right, I'm going to try and say this word, and I've been trying to say it all night and all day today, and I can't say it properly, but it is paroxysmal. Is that right, Sam? I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, because or what's it called where you like spell something out as you would say it? There's a word for that.
Phonetically. Yeah,
Yeah,
phonetic.
that's it. That's the one. Yeah, it was like paroxysmal or whatever, but you said that it was American, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Paroxysmal. Like, I wonder if like English would say, with like a British accent, would say paroxysmal, like more of an
Yeah.
O than an ac.
Mm.
I feel like they're like paroxysmal. Oh god,
Right.
that's probably the most offensive imitation of an American accent there. But like I feel like there's a bit more like A curved, whereas I feel like we'd say paroxysmal.
Yeah.
No, paroxysmal. I'm saying a completely different word, aren't I? Paroxysmal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
paroxysmal. But then
I'm
there's
saying paroxysmal, which I'm sure is something else. But anyway, yeah, paroxysmal. Oh, I don't know.
yeah,
That word.
we'll put it in the
Yeah,
in
I'll write
the,
it.
yeah, that's it. So yeah.
Like, for anyone listening, this is the word we're trying to say.
Yeah. So yeah, so paroxysmal, and then also paroxysm. I think that's right. Basically, it's a thing in MS. It's type of symptoms, and it's defined as symptoms that come and go. So, and
it's like a description of like a cluster of symptoms, right? Like, it's not a symptom.
So, for example, it would be like having, like, sometimes I get random like twitches, as in like a tick, but in a random part of my body that will just sort of go, and then it will stop. And it can be really annoying and painful, either painful or really annoying. But then it will just go away, and then it could just come back at any time. And like, I get so many of these like really tiny little things that do that I've put some of them in my list. But yeah, that is actually a thing, and it comes from the Greek word, and it means sudden attack or outburst, or reoccurrence or intensification of symptoms. Well, I get it all the time, like every day. Like, I don't know about you, Sam, like how many random things happen to you in a day, would you say?
I don't know. Like, I feel like over the years, I've learned to, there'll be like times where I have like, trying to like explain what I mean. So there will be times of the day where like, like one-off things will happen, but I kind of feel like a lot of my damage is just there. Does that make sense? Like, the sensations, they're just there, like 24/7. So I think I find it hard to kind of, because I stopped quite a long time ago, like focusing on it. And when things do happen, because I'm so used to them, I don't always like identify it or notice it. I'll just be like, oh, that's what I was. Like my hip giving way, or like all of a sudden a like patch of like nerve pain, like feeling like I've just dropped the kettle on it, or like my bladder spasming, or all these little things. I think I've stopped noticing, or I know they're happening, I notice them, but I think I've stopped my brain being like, oh, that's that. Does that make sense?
No, definitely, because I'm exactly the same. It's like they're just there all the time, so I'm just so used to them. And when they do get really, really bad, some days it is to the point that I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to like lie down or whatever, or it's just really, really painful.
And that's what I'm like. Then I'll have days where I'm like, oh, this is worse than it usually is. I never feel like, oh, this has come along, because like I said, I feel like it's always there. But I'll have days that then it's noticeably, like, still noticeably more painful or more difficult.
See, this is what I was trying to figure out, because I do have like so I don't know, like limits, is that how you say it as well? Limit sign?
I've got no idea how to
I think it's
that.
limits, which obviously is when you move your head. You can't. I've never had this symptom. I think this is like one of the only symptoms I've never had.
I haven't either.
Yeah, and it's actually a really common one, I think, or one of the more common ones.
I've never had that, or I might be jumping ahead here, but I've never had that or trigger myalgia. Is that how you pronounce it?
Right. Oh, I've written this down as well. Trigeminal, is it? Trigeminal neuralgia. I've written this somewhere.
That's so weird. I've always read it and been like, it's trigger myalgia, but it's just I've always don't know. Never heard of it. Anyway, sorry, that was a complete. But yeah, I've never had the I always just say, oh, the hermits thing. It looks
Well,
like hermit.
I
I've never
think
had the hermits thing either.
I think it's limit sign, but that counts as paroxysmal symptom because it comes in it's like a bam, and then you get that sudden shock of pain, and then it sort of eases off after, even like 30 seconds to a minute, and then you'll move your head again, and then bam, it will do it again. Like that's that kind of symptom. So I was trying to like pick apart my own symptoms and figure out which are just sort of ongoing ones and which are these kind of like attack clusters as they define them. But I still can't really make sense of it because it's like if it's only lasting for 30 seconds to a minute, then some of my symptoms, they hang around for longer than that, but they do still come and go. So I don't know if that still counts as that kind of symptom, or does it have to be such a short amount of time for it to count in that bracket, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like a burst of it all of a sudden.
Yeah, and what happens is they generally come like, it will happen like once in a day, and it will just happen periodically throughout the day, or like at different points in the day, which is what I get. Like I'll get like, I don't know, I could get this weird like stabbing nerve pain like in my boob, and it will just come on and do it for like, I don't know, 30 seconds a minute, like, and it would be excruciating.
What is
And
that?
then
I get
don't,
that.
mate, I don't know.
Oh, honestly, I reckon that half the stuff or that you're going to say, I'm going to be like, well, I get that, and I didn't
Yeah,
realize that was ever like. I think with me, a lot of the time, I never really think. I don't know. I just think that it's normal. Like, I'm just like, doesn't everyone feel like this? But yeah, I get it in my boob, and like I said, I remember saying to friends once before, I was like trying to explain it, and I was like, does everyone get this? Like, and it's like, it can be such a
yeah.
sharp pain, can't it?
Yeah, it literally like will take my breath away, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, I can't move!" Like, and then
I think I used to tell myself, I'm like, it's probably just a youth growing pain or period pain, but I'm like, I'm nearly 30. I don't think I'm having growing pain still. I don't know.
honestly, the things we put things down to, but I think that obviously counts as that kind of symptom. But then I don't know, like for example, like I'll go on to talk about it as I sort of go through my symptoms, but like for example, my leg, and like this is what I wanted to do with this episode, is that I feel like as people with MS, we generally will, like we do it when we talk to each other. I'll be like, oh, my leg's playing up today, but we never actually really say what is going on with it in specifically. So later on, I'm going to sort of describe what it's like for my legs, because they're very
Yeah.
individual and they have their own personalities.
But it's so much like, oh, not the relief, but like talking to people that like get it, the ease of just being able to say like, oh, my leg's being super messy today, or like, oh, my legs are playing up, and have them instantly get it, or at least like, even if we don't all feel the same, at least get it still, as opposed to someone that's like, but what do you mean by that? Like, or they just go, oh yeah, but they don't know. I think
Yeah,
for so long I've given up trying to explain it to people because I'm not very good at it, that I'm like kind of forgotten myself how to explain it. That's why it's really interesting, like when we talk about certain things and I'm like, oh my god, like that's such a good way, like I feel like I'm learning like new ways to explain things, because
yeah,
I'm terrible at articulating it. I'm just like, well, it's just playing up in it. I don't really know how to elaborate, but
it is interesting though. Yeah, like you say, like I think when we talk, or like when other people with MS talk, and like we kind of get what we mean, because we get what we
yeah,
mean.
even if, because like the thing I find the most interesting, and I'm obviously not a scientist, but so I don't know if there's any way of knowing this or if it is known. But the thing that I find really interesting is that, one, because they call it like the snowflake disease, or I think they say snowflake disease,
Mm.
Anyway, is because like everyone, like this is gonna go like real deep real quick, but like everyone
Right.
experiences things themselves completely different. Like, yeah, we can understand what we're feeling, but it's the same as like looking at, I don't know, the sky and being like, the sky's blue and someone else being like, yeah, the sky is blue, but are we actually, do you know what I mean? Like, no one actually knows what someone else is experiencing in their body, what they're seeing, what they're feeling, or whatever. So I find it really interesting with MS is that, Kat, you can describe something and I'll be like, oh my God, that's exactly what I feel. But is it, you know? Is
Yeah.
it exactly the same? Or is it two completely different things that are happening in our body, but it's the only way, you know, like, but we're like, oh yeah, that's the same. Like, that's
Yeah.
what I find so interesting, that, you know, they could be completely different. And I'm sure we've like had this conversation like a bit before around the, is that what we're feeling, or is it because that's the only what thing that our brain can comprehend it to? Like we say, like with some of our nerve pain, that it will feel like boiling water or something, but is that what it feels like, or is it because that's just all our brain can understand?
Yeah,
Anyway,
like
that
I
was a
told
bit
you, like,
intense, but
no, like, no, it's interesting because I was saying to you, I think it was a while ago that I read somewhere that our brains will insert
yeah, that's
information.
the conversation I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, like apparently because it's like a missing bit of
Mm.
information, and what our brains do is they will try and they'll fill in the gap with something that it's already experienced. I don't know how true this is. This
I
is just
don't know about you, but I've never poured a boiling hot kettle of water over my leg.
no,
Like, I
but you
feel
will have experienced the sensation.
of a
You must
burn.
find yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you can feel like you've got boiling water on my leg, or I can feel like I've got boiling water on my legs when I've never probably had boiling water on my legs. Like, it blows my mind, really. Like, the brain. Anyway,
Oh,
welcome back to Katt and Sam's
yeah.
Science Show.
This is just what like, and this is what happens. I'll like start reading about something, and then I just go down a complete rabbit hole because I'm like,
I'm
I just
worse, considering I was like, well, I'll take a back seat. Like, I want to listen to what you've got, and I'm like, well, how does the brain work? How do we, how do we know what we're feeling is what we're feeling?
well, no, mate, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. This is what it's
Back
all
to the
about.
point. Back to the point.
Yeah. So basically, obviously, my point was that some of us have these symptoms that are kind of in between relapses, which, so this is how I define it as, so I have relapses, which are when I'm really, really ill and all sorts going on, and I'm obviously getting worse and it's very active activity or whatever. But then I call like how I'm feeling at the moment like a flare up, in that I just feel like shit, and all of my symptoms, my existing symptoms, are flaring up randomly, but like to quite an extent, which
Mm.
then just makes me feel so fatigued. Like, and it's like, I think fatigue counts as one of the symptoms as well, because it's just,
Yeah.
it is intermittent. I'll have weeks where I'm on the ball and I'm like, right, get, like, you know, to
Yeah.
a point, get stuff done. And then it'll be like this week where I literally can't even like send a text message. Like, that's how bad my fatigue's been, which sounds like some kind of joke, but it's actually not, which is so annoying. But yeah, anyway, it was saying that it's due to inappropriate electrical signals that have already been damaged, which are essentially our lesions. So it's kind of like, it is, you know, the damage that we've already had from our relapses, but then they're just getting irritated or like triggered by movement. And this we know anyway. And I know you know, and I knew already, that heat and emotional stress and things like that can make
Yeah.
your
Make it
symptoms
worse.
worse.
I think actually, I feel like, I'm sure we're going to anyway, it's pretty obvious, but like we should do a whole episode on relapses and stuff.
Mhm, mhm. Well, that's the thing. Like when I was writing my list, let me see if I can get it. Some of them I've put in bracket. Like some of them are like relapse symptoms that only will have happened in relapses, but then
Yeah.
sometimes there's symptoms that are just all there all the time and come and
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So this episode's like us symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Life in between relapses.
Yeah. And I think that's what people don't realize. And also, like, I feel like this will be useful for people that have MS, because especially when I was first diagnosed and people were describing the more weird symptoms to me, and I was like, oh my God, that is what happened to me. Thank you so much for telling me that this is an MS thing, because I just wouldn't have known. So I think it'll be useful for other people with MS. Firstly, if that people can relate, because as you say, it's quite hard to put into words, like, all the different symptoms. But then also, I think it's going to be quite good for people who haven't got MS, and I think a lot of all these symptoms, well, like you said at the start, Sam, they're invisible. It is an invisible illness. I'm sitting here talking now like I'm fine, and I'm definitely not. So,
Yeah.
and it's like, and anyone will be like, oh yeah, but you looked really nice on the podcast, and you seem to like chat really well, and like,
But
I'm not.
isn't that just it? Like, I know everyone's different, but like we've said before, haven't we, that I'll come on the podcast and be like, oh God, I've made like no effort today. Like again today, I mean, at least my hair's like down and brushed, but no makeup on. But like I personally find that the rougher I feel, perhaps the more effort I do make, because you're almost trying to like counteract it. And so exactly, so you're having a really like rough time at the moment, and so you're more like aware of trying to look like you're not, whereas I'm like my average, and so I'm just like, well, what you see is what you get.
I don't know. This is another thing. Like, I don't know about you, but like, it's just like when we say to each other we feel MSE, like to me that is my symptoms, but also just it's like a feeling, like you just feel ill, but like just a bit gross. Like, I don't know. I always feel dirty, which sounds really weird. I just want to like have a shower when actually it's just that I'm feeling a bit grotty and like MSE, really.
Sometimes mine is factually like literally that though, if I'm really ill and I haven't been able to shower.
Well, yeah,
I do just feel
definitely an element there.
The other thing I was going to say, when you said about like though for people listening that do have MS, I don't know about your experience, Kat, or anyone else listening, but I feel like as well, like your MS, I don't so much get it with like the neurologists, but it's probably because I don't really talk to them about like day-to-day stuff. But like my MS nurses, God, heaven forbid that anything's an MS symptom. I feel like if you tried to say to them like, oh, this happened, they're like, well, you don't know that it's connected. Well, it probably isn't your MS. Well, no, that's not a symptom. Like they never let you have it. Like even in the community though, you'll be like talking to like a bunch of people that have MS and they're like, yeah, I get that too. And then you talk to somebody else that doesn't and they don't have a clue what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, maybe it does have something to do with it then, but I feel like they won't ever let you accept that, because it's almost letting you accept that, like they're very, aren't they, like,
oh my God, yeah,
you'll be fine, like,
yeah,
a microphone.
I think that's again, I think that's a really not a healthy way to deal with it at all, because yeah, it's almost like it's invalidating. If someone is saying they're having a symptom and they have MS, they're probably like telling the truth. Like, no matter how weird and wacky it is, this is what I was reading as well. And like, I knew this anyway, like essentially it's our brain. Our brain controls our whole body. So if there's a damage on a certain part of our brain, you could literally have any symptom due to MS potentially, because our brain is
everything. Yeah, your brain and nerves are everything, aren't they? Like, yeah, you're so right. Like, you can't ever say no, that's not, because how the bloody hell do they know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, what was
I just want to quickly add, because I keep fidgeting because I'm sitting on a chair that isn't the comfiest and my microphone does wobble, so I'm really sorry if like we play this back if it sounds like there's an earthquake every now and again. It's just me fiddling. It's me wobbling around. Anyway, sorry.
You find my end, mate.
Because I've got an MSE leg.
Yeah, we will go on to describe the MSE legs in a little bit. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. This is what I mean. My brain fog is absolutely shocking today. This is a symptom, like being fine and then literally just waking up and just not being able to even think. Like, it's like, even to the point where I'm like trying to find a certain app on my phone. So in my head, I'm like, right, I want to open this app on my phone. And I'll pick up my phone and I'll be like, I can't figure out how to do it. It will take me like just that, like, I don't know, it's so difficult to explain. But like, even like sending a text message or reading a text message or listening to people's voice notes, it's like, I don't have the energy. And I used to think it was time, because I associated fatigue with time, in that everything took me ages to do. But it wasn't that I didn't have the time, it was that I didn't have the energy. It's
like not having the energy like mentally. And I think that's something that people don't get, because like people will be like, it's easier for people without MS or chronic illness to understand being tired. Like, yes, they don't understand fatigue, but it's easier to comprehend. But the things you're describing, that just sheer lack of being able to just take anything in, like, you know, like you could be looking at your, like someone without a chronic illness or without chronic fatigue or anything, like looking at their phone and reading a text, yeah, they might be like, oh, I'm too tired, like I can't bother to reply, kind of thing. But there's a difference between looking at it and just not being able to take it in, and like not being able to like form sentences back to someone.
Yeah, like that is exactly what it's like. And my thing at the moment is I just worry so much because I'm such a social person. And at the moment I've just had to literally I just haven't been speaking to even my closest friends, because I just feel like every single thing I do takes up so much energy. And it's, unless you've experienced chronic fatigue, it's not even close to being tired, because I can be like not normal person tired, but then also have the crippling fatigue. So it's like my body kind of is all right, but then my brain is literally, it's like, I just imagine it in like a trough of sludge, just literally like sludging around. Like, it's just impossible to even to relax. Like, I find like, I'm like, oh, I might read a book, and then I'm like, definitely don't have the energy or the cognitive energy or function to be able to do that. So like I said to Sam before we came on here, I literally just sat on my bed for like 3 or 4 hours last night. I did nothing, just like stared at the wall. But like, I was fine, but I was just didn't have the energy to like move or talk to anyone. And I'm just like, wow, when it happens, I'm just like, I can't believe this is a thing, because it's not all the time. But at the same time, to anyone that's not living in our bodies, we look exactly the same, and we're actually behaving exactly the same, because we're very good at faking it, because we've done it so well for however many years.
And that's the same, like, obviously in people as well. But I get really like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm in a not lose-lose situation. But let's take like this week, for example. I felt relatively okay, and when I say relatively okay, like, we'll go into it, obviously there's a baseline of shit going on. But I went to, it was my niece's birthday on Tuesday, and I went around there, and I went onto the I keep calling it a trampoline, I went onto the bouncy castle once, and there were some photos like that I took from on there. And I did it because I'm at the point now where if I want to do something, like, I'll do it. Like, you know, if physically I could get on there, but that was it. Like, that completely like knackered me. And then I kind of stood there for a bit and had to make my excuses and go. And then sometimes I feel like if I post a picture on social media, that people are going to be like, well, she's fine, she's on a bouncy castle.
Oh,
and I'm like, and I am, but at the same time they don't see like what happened, you know, what was going on behind that. I've got some visitors.
Yeah, it's like
my niece and nephew around.
Oh, bless.
Talk of the devils. Talk of the bouncy castle devils.
The bouncy castle. They heard the words. I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Sorry, I need to just stop. Like, that's the kind of thing that I was like, blah blah.
No, it's just my brain fog's just so bad. Like, I had
shuffling the most uncomfortable seat in the world.
Bless you, mate.
Carry on. I'm just gonna.
What was it? Oh yeah, basically. So this is a prime example of fatigue. Oh, that was it. Kind of. You said about putting pictures on social media. So the things I worry about are, I will put stuff on my story all the time, and I'll have like 20 inboxes in my inbox that I haven't replied to, but I'll see something and I want to share it, or I'll take a photo and I want to share it. And I always think like, people must just think I'm just being really rude, and that's the one thing I hate, because like I say, I love being so social, and I love talking to people, I love having really in-depth conversation with people. And then when I have like a week like this, and I'm now 20 messages behind, and like, I'm just like, I can't.
Having a conversation can be difficult, can't it? Like we said, that sort of thing that people don't get, like the mental power that takes. So like, it's easier for you, like you said, to snap a picture and post it up, because there's no brain work. Like, you don't need to, you know, that's not difficult. Whereas getting into and especially like for yourself, like if as soon as it builds up and it becomes then like such a task to have to tackle, like replying to everyone.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to just give someone like a really shitty answer or reply. I want to actually put time and energy and effort into it, because it is interesting conversation generally that I'm having with people. And it's like, but I just can't do it. So yeah, there was something else I was going to say as well. This is what I mean. My brain is just not working.
It's not, honestly. I think that I'm not helping.
No, I'm just like, oh yeah, that was what was I going to say? I was just going to say, like, doing this podcast now, like, yeah, I seem all right. I've got my makeup on, like, I'm fairly like with it. I will get off this podcast and be like, like, I'm gonna have to lie down. I need to have some food, and then I might even manage a walk, but probably not. And we'll just go to bed. And it's like, and again, it's like there's snapshots on social media, like, you know, people seeing that we're doing the podcast weekly, and it takes a lot of energy and like mental energy to do, but it wipes me out like for a day. Like, this is my day's activity. Generally I can do an activity a day, and so that's kind of how limited I am with my sort of day-to-day life. And it is different for everyone, but like I would say as a general rule, it's like I can only do like one thing a day, really, like a main thing. But yeah, should we talk about
do I jump into some symptoms?
Yeah, so
I just leant in, like, got a really big forehead shot then.
looking great. Okay, so I was going to say to you, what would you say your most annoying symptom is? One that just pisses you off on the regs.
Let me ever think about it. Have you got one?
Yeah, I've got one. This is a weird one.
If you're talking annoying, let me ever think. Yeah.
So my one is, I get a really itchy inner ear. It's my right ear, and it feels like I need to itch inside my ear. And I know other people get this, like on their body, where they'll feel like they just can't, there's a scratch they can't itch. I bet you've got this, but I get it.
I'm getting a visitor. Yeah, hang on. And we're back again. Sorry, this is what happens when you're filming at a different location. I had a little nephew that was like, "What are you doing? Can I play?" He was like, "How long are you going to be?" I was like, "Probably a little while." Right, anyway, yeah, so sorry, you were saying about your ear, like, annoying symptoms.
Oh my god, so yeah, this is one that is just, I mean, like I've got this whole list to go through, but I'd say it is one of my most annoying symptoms. It's not painful.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's not really, and it does come and go, but oh my goodness, when it is there, it is so annoying because I can't itch it. And it's because it's inside my ear. I'm literally like,
yeah, that's helped me pick mine. So I don't think I really get it in my ear. Like, I get an itchy ear, but I'm pretty sure I get just an itchy ear, like if I scratch it. Is that right? I get an itchy ear and I scratch it, or get a scratch? Yeah, it does go away. But I get it on my inner arms here, an itch. And my god, like, you can't scratch it, can you? Like, because it's the nerve that's itchy, or this creating that feeling of itchiness, and it drives me crazy. Like you said, it's not painful or anything, but it is so annoying. It's like, oh, not being able to just, and sometimes I do try, and like that's not good, because then I like, my arms like red raw where I've like really like scratched at it. But for me, it's always like on my inner arm. Yeah, sometimes it might be like the other side, but I don't get that feeling anywhere else in my body, only my arms.
I just get it in my ear, mate.
Just in my ear. At least there's almost like a placebo effect that I can scratch it and I can try like thinking, but in your ear you must just be like, oh.
Yeah, I'll sort of do like a bit, I'll try to scratch it, but also it generally makes it worse when I do it. So I'll just try and, but again, like this is an example of one of the, I'm not even going to try and say the word, but the symptoms that come and go, in that it will come on and be really annoying, but then it will just stop. So I'll just generally, with my like random weird little symptoms that I get like this, I just tell myself it will go soon, like, and it generally does. And I think I said that on the other podcast.
It's hard though when it's a itch though, isn't it? It's hard to like not focus on it.
Yeah, it's not a fun one.
I feel really itchy now. I'm like, oh, I feel really itchy.
Oh dear. Okay, so the next one on my list is pebble feet, and I had this morning. I would describe it as, imagine if you've been walking barefoot on a really pebbly beach with like sharp stones, and that you've just been walking across that all day. So your feet are like really bruised on the soles of your feet. And it's like painful to walk. And I get, again, a lot of my stuff is on my right side, so I get it more in my right foot. But like I woke up this morning, got out of bed, put my foot on the carpet, and was like, oh my goodness, this is so painful. Like, and that is, again, is one of those symptoms. It comes and goes, but I would say it lasts longer than a minute. Like it would last for like, I don't know, like an hour, and then it will stop. I don't know if you've ever had that
No,
experience.
I don't think I have ever had that. I get with my feet like where they feel swollen sometimes, but they're not. Like I'll then look at them, especially like around like my ankle sort of area. Well, like my whole foot really. Like I feel like they feel swollen, but to look at, they're not at all. Like they look like they normally do.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't think I've ever felt that you're describing.
It's just quite, it's painful.
Mm.
Like it is uncomfortable. And like if you want to walk, or if you want to like, I don't know, if you put like heels on or whatever, it is sore.
Yeah,
Like
no,
it's
I've definitely not
painful.
had that. Like I don't tend to get pain in my feet.
See, yeah, and that is another symptom I get, which I did say to you, which was I get my right foot will just go like stiff, and then if I even try to like curl my toes under like a tiny little bit, it will be excruciating pain, like to even move. It's, I don't know, it's such a weird one. My right foot is very odd, because obviously I had that relapse at the start of lockdown, and it literally felt like someone had like jumped up and down on my foot repeatedly with like a steel fucking capped boot on, or someone had dropped something like a rock from a great height onto my foot. Like that is how it, to be fair, it's actually doing it a little bit now.
Yeah. But then, like we said at the beginning, the difference that we perceive like between like relapses, flare-ups, and everyday symptoms. I'd be curious, have you ever had drop foot?
No, I don't
Oh,
think I have.
okay.
But what does that count of? Because
I personally would put it in flare up, personally, because I've had drop foot a few times where then it has been a relapse, like fine, but because it's gone on to that, and that's been kind of the first bit. But I have also had drop for like 2 days, like a day or two, and I would then put it in the flare up category, because it's more than just a daily symptom. I'd say drop foot.
yeah.
It
So
doesn't
like
always. They say it doesn't always necessarily mean it's a relapse.
what happens when that happens then? Like, can you
So
describe?
you can't. So this can be difficult for anyone that's just listening. So I like you can't bend it properly. It's like having a flat foot, you know. So like the way that your foot would naturally sort of curve to walk is
Yeah.
impossible. From your ankle
Oh, okay.
down, it just hangs. But it's not even, because I get like, I kind of get that sometimes, what I would classify as an everyday feeling,
Mm-hmm.
where I can't seem to get my body to move the way I want it to. But with drop foot, it's almost like it goes completely numb. It's like having like a detached limb that's still detached, you know, like there's nothing you can do with it. It's not like you're struggling to send signals to it's just literally like having,
Gone.
it's like carrying a handbag, you know. You can't, it's just you carrying it around and it's like dead. But you can still walk on it to an extent. Like it's very difficult, but not because it's painful, just because no signals are going through to it. Like it's completely flat drop foot. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to explain, and I've had it a few times, and it's not nice. It's like I said, it's not painful, but it's just, yeah. But I feel like that is like a step closer to a relapse than just
mm-hmm.
like your everyday symptoms. Like if I woke up and had drop foot, I would be concerned. I'd be like, right, I really need to rest and I need to figure out if this is the start of a relapse. Whereas
Yeah.
when I wake up with nerve pain, I'm just like, oh hey.
Mhm.
You know, like it doesn't probably like raise as many alarm bells.
Yeah, that's what it was saying in this thing about symptoms as well, in that having, I can't even say it, paroxysmal symptoms
Yeah.
is kind of like an indication that you could be heading into a relapse. So for instance, like what you've just said about the drop foot thing, like if you are getting like something so severe as that, like that is probably, I don't know, like it's like things like vision and bladder getting like worse quickly.
Vision would probably definitely be one.
Yeah, but then like, so you say that you would say that that's more of a kind of like a serious thing, and to you that would indicate, well, it would, I mean, if that happened to me, I would be like, I'm having a relapse, like, pretty sure, because obviously I've never had that symptom before. But what I do,
So because I've had it as part of a relapse, I don't always necessarily straight away think it is a relapse, because it could just be the damage done from,
yeah,
so it's a bit of it just raises more of a flag for me to be like, right, pay attention to what's going on in your body, because this is like a step forward sort of thing.
yeah, I think that's really good that is the case, and I would be the same. But it is, like it says here, that it is like an indication. But also, I think about the amount of these types of symptoms that I do have every day, it's definitely not an indication necessarily. The symptoms would have to be very, very severe, I think, for me to be like, I think this is a relapse, because I'm so used to just horrible things randomly happening on any given day. But I mean,
not to go off on a tangent, I just want to ask you a question. So one thing that has happened to me quite a bit, I don't know if you're the same, like I can almost tell potentially when a relapse is coming when the pain stops, or not stops, but like numbness more kicks in. Like I feel like my nerve pain and stuff like that, for me, it like flattens and quietens down, because like most of the relapses that I've had have been like lesions on my spine, like it's my mobility. And so for me, like coming back at like some people that don't have MS have asked me before, and I've given this my answer as a bit of deflection and humor, but I'm like, no, I love the pain, so when the pain comes back I can feel something, because like I found that with quite a few of my relapses, that's how I kind of differentiate it, that like a numbness spreads across it, so I'm kind of feeling the thing still, but there's like a numbness as well. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. But it also is interesting that my sort of, I know I'm relapsing, is completely different. So for me, it's like indications that I'm going into a relapse is when my vision just goes really bad. Like my vision goes every day to some kind of extent, but when it's really, really bad, and I'm like, and it's almost like, it's so hard to describe. It's like I feel like there's like a strobe light in my head, and it's the way I'm seeing things is almost like there's some kind of, it's like strobe vision. It's like I'm in a club or something, but I'm not. But I'm also not seeing that. It's almost like I can feel it in my head, which sounds really weird. And actually, I had written on here, like, when I had the MRI 2 weeks before I was hospitalized for my really bad relapse with my diagnosis, I remember lying in there thinking, I can literally feel this happen. I could just picture my brain like on fire. Like I was lying in the MRI thinking, this will not come up clear, because I'm feeling it. It feels like my brain's on fire. Like that was what it was like. And then obviously it came back with these massive lesions that were really active, and I was like, knew it. It's like I can feel it. And also, this is another interesting thing, which I know is common for some people, and I don't know, we've never spoke about this, I don't think. Actually, we might have. So generally, like, something that indicates that a relapse is coming for me is like a sudden outburst of uncontrollable anger, like to the point that I've put my hand through a mirror before. I'm trying to think, I've punched through my door, and honest to God, like if you saw my doors, you'd be like, how did you do that? It's like I had superhuman strength, because it was like I just went into this blind rage. And it's happened, it's like my brain gets confused, and it's like almost like it's inflamed. Well, it is inflamed.
I wonder if there's like a lesion near that pressure point that would trigger that.
It's mad. And it's so out of character for me because I'm such a like chill Zen person the majority of the time. But I will also have these, not to the same extent, but I will have sometimes these, and that always scares me because I always think, oh my God, am I going to relapse? Because it will be like this sudden rush of like intense anger or emotion. Like it's happened when I can't stop crying. That scares me because it's like any kind of super heightened emotion to me that generally is followed by something MSy or MS related or a relapse. But like there's been four actually times that I can think of where I've had a really quite severe anger episode and then a week later gone into a really severe relapse. And it's just interesting that there's that pattern. So for me, that's the kind of like alarm bell. Like for you, it's the kind of the change in sensation. It's like, it's interesting that, because obviously your lesions are different places to mine. Like I don't have any on my spine. Mine are all on my head and my brainstem, and there is loads of them. And it's like, I don't know how many you've got in your brain. I don't think I've ever talked about this before.
I don't know. I don't ever.
Someone asked me the other day and I was like, I don't have a clue. I just know there's loads. Like,
I don't. I know I can ask. If that is, I probably am meaning next time that I do see a neurologist, maybe to ask, but I don't always look at the images and stuff. Like, I don't know. Yeah, so they do. Yeah, I don't know. They do show me them. But my neurologists are quite like, and not in the bad way, because I think I'm quite like, me and Mum were talking about this the other day actually. Like, I'm very fortunate. Like, all of my neurologists, because I don't have like a single neurologist, and I don't know if that's the same for everyone. Do you have like a neurologist, Kat?
I'm under a neurologist, but I had a letter from a different neurologist the other day, and when I had
Is it like one? You've got like one?
yeah, there is. I'm under one neurologist. Yeah.
So I'm under a clinic,
Okay.
and they're all specialised in MS. So that's really good. So I think there's
I was like, all right, show off.
yeah. So I mean, and so I feel I hear a lot of horror stories, and I do feel really grateful actually, because I do have like a good team, and I think there's probably 5 of them. I've met a good like 3 or 4. Yeah. Anyway, and they're all really good. So the last one that I saw, Dr. Molyneux, as much as I don't know if I'm gonna get sued now for naming people, but anyway,
You're allowed. I think you're allowed.
as much as they're not dismissive at all, like they won't be like, oh, you don't need, you hear people say, oh, you don't need to know that, you don't need to focus on that. They're not dismissive. Like, they will show me the scans and they will say, like, you see this here, and they'll point it all out, but they don't dwell on it, because they're more keen to dwell on, right, what are we going to do to make it better?
Mm-hmm.
And I quite like that, like, because I don't ever feel like they're trying to hide anything. It's just that I trust them enough that they're aware of it and they want to change it. And so I've seen like my brain scans the last few times with all the white dots, but I haven't seen my spine one in a while. But and again, I don't know if I have that many on my spine, but the last time I saw one, it's just that I had a fucking huge one. It was just that it was so big. And so I think that now the new ones that I'm getting are on my brain, but like one of them said to me like quite a while ago now that, because my mobility gets affected a lot, that they said that it's not that I'm getting new lesions as such on my spine, it's just that the new lesions are activating that massive one.
Yeah.
They haven't quite yet, like that hasn't reduced yet. So yeah, but I don't know, maybe next time
I mean,
I'll be like, can we play connect the dots and can we try figure out what's going on? But
yeah, no, I was definitely kidding when I said about showing off about having like decent.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, but yeah, no, it is, and it's one of those weird things, isn't it? Like, it's obviously something to be proud of, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like I am very aware that I am fortunate, and I don't know what the word would be, but yes, I'm not fortunate that I need them. But at the same time, you can look at your situation, and I do feel fortunate that I do have a good team.
Yeah, I think that, that's so good. And I think with actually the hospital I'm under now, they have specialist MS neuros that are there.
Yeah.
Because if you get a general neuro, they don't care. They're not interested. It's boring. MS is boring.
Yeah.
And MS isn't terminal. That is the thing as well. Like, it's not terminal. Don't need to worry about it, apparently.
Like, I'm just actually, do you know what? I'm going to shout it out just because I'm going to show off, actually. Not that they're ever listening, but this is an example of how good they are. So it's a clinic, and the clinic, I think, is Dr. Thorpe and Dr. Molyneux's clinic. So they're probably like the two main ones. And then they have like Dr. Cole, Claire McCall. Like, there's a few that work as part of that clinic. Anyway, one of them is called Alistair Cole. And I think have met him maybe once, but not through a sit-down meeting, through maybe just him being at the clinic and we've said hello sort of thing. But they have meetings every Tuesday. I've said this before, like where they discuss patients.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I guess for second opinions and stuff, because there is a few of them. So for me, like this Tuesday just gone, they were like, right, should we go ahead and give Sam round 2 of them Trada, blah, blah. So about 3 years ago now, Dr. Cole had come to one of my, like a town more local to me, and he was doing a speech for the MS Society around MS, and he was so obviously so passionate about it, like that's his speciality, he was really into it. And I went up at the end because I had a question, because he was like, I'm here if anyone wants to talk to me at the end. And I went up to him and I was like, oh, hello, like I'm under your clinic sort of thing. And he went, oh, Sam, yes, and started chatting to me, and like he talked to me like he did know who I was, you know, and we chatted about like where I'm at and stuff like this. And obviously I left it thinking that he's a professional doctor, like you can blag it, do you know what I mean? Like I thought he was probably just being polite, but I told him that I was interested in learning more about a study that he was doing, and we left it at that. My full name, like I didn't go through my full name, nothing, and he posted me the paperwork.
That's
So he
amazing.
clearly did know who I was, because he went back, located me, found my address, and sent me the paperwork that he was working on to read.
That's amazing.
And I was like,
amazing.
I know. I was like, oh, he did know who I was. Like, I thought that was so lovely.
That is what you need from a neuro, and that is what I wish was more the case, in that patients were more involved in their treatment and finding, like the fact that you requested that study and you wanted that, you want to learn, and that he's encouraging that.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back to the stay away from Google thing that I just think is absolute bollocks. Like, yeah, that's amazing. That's really, really good. And I wish more neuros were like that.
Yeah.
I think more specialist MS neuros, if you're any experience I've had with general neuros have just sort of treated MS as if it's like having a cold or something. They're like, oh, you'll be fine. And it's kind of like, do you actually know anything about this illness? Or is it just like you've read a page in a textbook and you just, that was really mean, but that is sometimes how it feels.
That's what they do. They go to Google.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, they're telling you not to Google it because we're going to find out all their secrets, because they learn everything off Google.
Well, I don't know, there is a big difference though in, like, when I went to that STEM talk, the stem cell talk at London Bridge Hospital, and there was kind of some of the sort of top MS specialist neuros. I know, I can't remember their names now. Yeah, so I can't remember which other neuros it was, but I know Ben Turner was one of them. And the difference in like being able to have conversation, or even small amounts of conversation with them in comparison to like just a sort of standard neuro, was like really useful. And I wish that more neuros were like that and are more interested in listening to patient experience as well, because you can look at all the clinical data you want, but actually we're living it. And, you know, it's sometimes things don't correlate. You can have MS and have symptoms and it not show up on MRI, you know, so where's like, tell me how that works. And that's where I think, excuse me, sorry, talking to the patient about their symptoms and how it's actually affecting them, rather than assuming they know. But yeah, I've gone off on a massive tangent here as well.
Should we go on to another symptom?
Yeah, we'll go on to my next symptom. If I can open this, it doesn't recognise my face. Okay, so spasticity. Do you get that?
Yeah. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
So yes, I do. I get like we say, like the base level kind of thing, you know, like I'll get it where I'll get like the odd actual spasm in my legs, like I only really get it in my legs. Or I'll get it where, you know, it'll like I don't know if it is spasticity, but like where they overstretch, that would be counted, is it right?
So
Like,
I'll
say
oh,
if you like stretched, but say if like you stretch so much that it makes you shake. Does that make sense?
I don't know if
Have you ever
that.
had that? Like,
No.
I'll get it like where it's not a spasm as such, like the shake, it's that my body's locked so tightly that it
Mm.
shakes. But I don't get that too often. I'd say I more just get like the odd like spasm. But this year, when I had the relapse, the first thing that I started getting before they confirmed it was the relapse was that locking motion so severely. Like, I've never had it before, which is why they were like, yes, relapse, because it was like brand new sort of thing, where I would like try sit up in bed in the morning and my body would want to lock straight so much that it would just throw me back down again. Like I couldn't bend my leg because it was so locked into, you know, like when you stretch in bed and you stretch
Mm.
so much, it would be so severely locked into that straightness, and I would not be able to get it out of it, and it would take me so long to be able to sit forward and to get up because I'd just get thrown back again from it.
Yeah, that's
But that
annoying.
went away when I had steroids for the relapse.
Mhm.
So I feel like, yeah, that was the next step forward. But in general, like day to day, I get weak spasms, I'd say. They're never anything too like extreme.
So I ended. Oh my god, my stomach just gurgled. I don't know if that picked up on the microphone. So I understood, like, obviously I have spasms in that, like, I'll like jerk and have the odd like jerky movement or whatever. Um, but the spasticity I'm talking about is, so it's more so in my right leg, but I do get it in my left leg as well, and it is literally feels like my legs are massive and rock solid, and they're just tight, like, and it's so uncomfortable to like move, like it's like the outer bit of like my leg is like solid to the touch, and it's so uncomfortable, and that's what anxiety leg was, mate, but it was just on a lesser like scale in the other leg, whereas
Yeah.
now it's like the whole of my calf, and it can spread up into like my thigh as well. But it is generally my foot and calf, but it just, yeah, it just feels like my leg's rock solid, and it's really like swollen and tight, and it's like wants to burst, if that makes sense.
That's kind of what I get on my feet. Like you
Yeah.
talk about the sweat, yeah, that like the bursting is really tight and like hot. Like, yeah, I get that on my like feet, like I said, especially round like the top of them and my ankles.
Yeah, that's where, yeah, I get that, and I would say that is, I think that is spasticity, I think.
So,
But it's really, really uncomfortable, especially when it's like in one leg as well. Actually, it's uncomfortable in both legs, but one leg, obviously, it throws off
it's weird, right?
walking.
Because I feel like people would associate MS with spasticity.
Mm.
I'd say that's one of the main symptoms that people would. They imagine that everyone's like Parkinson's, I guess. Like I feel like people would associate MS with that.
Yeah.
That like spasms in that sense. I don't know if that is what Parkinson's is, spasms, but that shaking. I feel like that's what people would from the outside would perceive MS as, like mobility issues and like, yeah, spasms and things. When
That's what I
really, like you said, it's not always what it looks like, is it?
Yeah, I mean, we're four symptoms into the list, man. There's about 20 million on here, but
Oh,
like that's exactly what I thought as well. I thought MS was just like, I don't know, you got a bit tired, had a few spasms, like you're a bit shaky, like I don't know, you fall over a bit or what. I did not realise that, I don't know. Yeah, some of the weirder. I didn't realise I'd get an itch in my ear that I can't scratch. Like it's just like no one told me that. It's not in the leaflet. Um, Here I've just put my legs just hurt, which is just a joke. They
yeah,
just hurt. I
yeah.
just don't even know how to explain it. It's not like, it can be sharp pain, it can be dull pain, it can just be achy pain, it can be,
But at the same time, you feel like it's all those and none of those.
yeah.
It's so hard to explain, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
It's like a dull ache. sharp pain. It's I know what you mean. Well,
Very.
I don't know if I know what you mean. That was my point, but but yeah, I would say I say some people sometimes my legs just hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is one that we can't really explain. It is just
No.
random pain in all sorts. I put here again about my right foot going completely solid, which again is spasticity. I think that's what you're talking about, in that it's like, it does feel like my foot's gonna like explode because it's so like tight. Like, and then if I move it, it makes it hurt even more. It's like almost like something that hasn't been oiled properly. It's like so stiff to move. It's so sore.
I am
Um,
here. If anyone's watching this, I'm still listening to Cat, but I just need to like stretch my
have a
legs.
stretch, mate. Go for it. Another symptom for me is the water one, which it feels like I've got water running up and down my legs or up and down my arms, or it comes on my face as well. Sometimes it's like someone's just dripping water like on my face. Sometimes it feels like the water's inside me, like is inside my limbs, which I know you get, Sam, with the hot water thing.
Yeah.
With my water thing, it's more just water. It's like again, it's like it's not painful, it's just weird. And it's actually, I think it's one of the lesser symptoms that I really don't mind, because it's weird, but it's not particularly uncomfortable or anything.
It's weird.
Yeah. Well, another one is my pupil, which
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know if it's doing it today, but my right one goes bigger than my left. And that was actually the symptom that led to my diagnosis. I think that's down to like, so I've put here about the brainstem lesions. So there's like a cluster, which I talked about this in the other podcast. There's a cluster of like lesions. If they're on your brainstem, there's very specific symptoms they correlate to, which will be facial dropping, slurring, a lot of cognitive stuff, nerve pain in your face. And I'm pretty sure the pupil thing is down to that as well, is to do with lesions on your brainstem, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, moving on was the face dropping, which happened in a relapse, which was literally like I'd had a stroke. And actually the muscles are still not, they're wonky still. And it flares up sometimes in that you can't really see it, but I'll be chewing the inside of my mouth by accident because it's like that bit of my face is just dead. But obviously when it happened, it was like, I mean, thought I was going to look like that for the rest of my life, and I was quite upset about it, to be honest. But I was told that wasn't an MS symptom. The head MS nurse at Northampton told me that, she went, I don't think that's MS.
What the bloody hell is it then?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, but okay. But yeah, that is the facial weakness is due to a specific lesion on your brainstem.
Makes sense though. I'm surprised they say that it isn't that when you said about the TIA thing and the mini stroke thing, because facial drop in, that would be linked to that. So if they link it to MS, like I'm surprised they don't perceive that as something.
I just thought it was mad that she said that wasn't, because it's not a common thing, but it's not uncommon in that it does happen. I've seen enough people on forums and things say that they've experienced facial weakness as well. And then what else have I put? Nerve pain in my face. Do you get any nerve pain in your face, mate?
Not in my face, no.
See, I get it all sort of down the sides of my face. Like it's just like nerve pain, and then it will sometimes go down into my jaw and like into my teeth, which is that thing that you said earlier, the trigeminal neuralgia.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's how to say it, but yeah, I've never had that.
I've had it only, like I say, only in that sort of, it'll be I'm gonna say it again, paroxysmal symptom. That it just sort of will come on, and it will sort of like almost like run along my jaw, and in my head I'm like, please don't let this be a relapse, like, but it generally just does go away. But that again is I think that's down to brainstem lesions as well, but that is a symptom of MS, in that if you get it badly, it's they call it the suicide disease, because having nerve pain in your face literally makes you want to rip your face off. Like, I mean,
I
I
have a
had.
couple of girls that I follow on Instagram that suffer with that really bad,
Mhm.
and it does, yeah, it seems unbearable.
Vile, yeah. It's one symptom that I would not. I mean, I get it a little bit, and that's enough. So I'm just like, nah, just stay away, please. And I also just get like random stabbing pain, just kind of like, obviously people that are listening can't see, but like up here, like up around my eyebrow, and like down. It's generally down the sides of my face that I generally get it. Or it'll be like stabbing pain, which is always fun. My speech is one thing. How would you say your speech is, Sam? Do you have any issues with your speech?
I do, but I personally feel like mine's probably more of a um, byproduct, or whatever you'd say, of fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that anytime my speech plays up, it's more because I've got brain fog or fatigue, as opposed to like, because how it was a little while ago now, wasn't it, that Selma Blair sort of came forward and
Yeah.
said that she'd been diagnosed with MS, and her speech was affected really bad at the time. And I'd been diagnosed for a few, this was she only came forward, like, I'd say like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe not even that. And I had no idea that it could affect your speech like that. So I mean, like, you can have been living with MS for a year or 20 years, like, you chance of experiencing everything is pretty slim.
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
and I had no idea that it could do that. So anytime that my speech is like slurred or affected, I generally feel like it is just a product of that I'm overtired, or like I've got brain fog. I don't think I've ever experienced anything with physically my voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it can affect, obviously, like you say, cognitive. Like, so that is a symptom as well, is forgetting a word mid-sentence. Like, that's I haven't even got it written. Where have I got? Paroxysmal. That's a paroxysmal symptom, is forgetting a
I
word
find
mid-sentence.
that such a difficult one though, because to like not explain because it's obvious, but I feel like a lot of people do that regardless
Oh,
of whether.
people say to me all the time, oh, I get that too. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't know. Like, you
That's
actually
what I
don't.
mean.
Like,
Yeah, it's one of those that I don't flag it up because I can't be bothered to hear people say, I do that all the time.
yeah, I know you
Like,
don't know you
yeah,
do
you
that.
do. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets things. Like, that is one of the most normal things in the world. But there is a difference, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a difference between the
Yeah.
fact that you've just literally forgotten it in that moment. You're like, oh, damn it, like, what am I trying to think of? To brain fog, where it's almost like it's somewhere there. You
Hmm.
just can't bring it forward. So yeah, I
Yeah.
tend to just, I'm like, yeah, crazy.
Mm. See, I get that with all the cognitive stuff, but I have actually had problems with my actual speech. And sometimes I do when I'm quite tired, I will slur my words. I also trip up over my words quite a lot, which is quite odd because I like to talk. um, and I'll sort of, one of the relapses I had, like, so after the first pre to actual diagnosis relapse, I call it the Christmas relapse, but it was like my speech was just like a little bit staggered. So if you didn't know me, you wouldn't know. But it was like I would be like that. So it would be like little like I'd like repeat myself. But to anyone that didn't know me, it didn't sound like anything at all. But in my head, it was so obvious because it was like the information in my head wasn't coming out of my mouth properly. So and then actually when I had the Whopper relapse, I was high like this, like I couldn't talk.
Yeah, it's sort of
That was
like
scary.
with Selma, yeah, and I just think, yeah, I've not experienced that.
Yeah, I sounded drunk. I've got some excellent voice notes, which I do actually think I'll probably share on social media at some point from that I'd obviously voice noted my friends when I was in hospital. And I think it took me like about 5 minutes to say just one thing to my friend. Like, and I think she was like, but it's like you sound drunk. Like I sounded like I was off my face, but I wasn't. I was just really poorly. But yeah,
Cannot stop
they're the
yawning.
things. Say that again, mate.
You know, I'm watching. I cannot stop yawning.
Oh, give me away, mate. Sleepy times. So yeah, there was that one, my speech. I was going to say something else about my speech. Oh yeah, I suppose this is to do with it. My swallowing. I don't know if you've ever had swallowing problems. These are
No.
all brainstem like cluster of symptoms, and I've got loads that are all like spread out like all around that area, like actually on my brainstem and kind of just around it. So I think that's probably why I'm having all these kind of cluster. But swallowing for me, so one of the relapses I had, it was like so annoying that it was like every time you know how you naturally swallow, just with you swallow all the time, don't you? Like you just body just does it like automatically without think. It's like autonomic function. But it was like every time I swallowed, it just felt like I had a massive lump in my throat.
Yeah.
So it was just like really annoying. Right before bed, I'd be lying there like really conscious of my swallowing, and then sometimes I'll choke on things, which I remember one time I thought, because obviously they say MS can't kill you, and I remember thinking like in my kitchen I literally like could not breathe and I was choking so much. I thought,
like, wow, a
the irony.
side effect of a symptom of that could like,
Yeah, I know, that's it. In the moment, you know, like weird things come into head. I thought, if this kills me, if I die like from choking, I'm going to be really pissed off. Like I'm going to be annoyed. So yeah, choking is a thing that is quite annoying for me.
swallowing one of the big ones, I think, isn't it? I think that is one of I haven't had it, but I think that's on the MS Trust website. I think swallowing is quite a common one, or well, I don't know if it's that it's common, but it's more spoken about one as such.
I think it's because it's like a more dangerous symptom, really. Like
Yeah,
all these other symptoms aren't, they could be so painful, but they're not going to kill us.
you know,
Whereas
you can't.
choking
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
problem. So
You can't swallow 5 times in a row.
what? Don't even make me try and do that right
You
now.
won't, because you'll feel like you can't breathe. I bet everyone listening is trying to swallow.
I'm going to try and do this after we get off this.
Yeah, it's physically impossible to swallow 5 times in a row, like one after the other. If you try it, and I'm really sorry if you're now choking like listening to it, because like, oh.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't try this because it might flare up my choking. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not.
I wouldn't advise it, but anyone that's
It,
listening that feels like they can, give it a go.
it doesn't happen. Like again, it's more of a sort of symptom that comes and goes. So it's not something that is really affects me, but it is annoying when it does happen, and it's also quite awkward. And one thing I've noticed as well is this is really gross, but it's like to do with my swallowing. When I'm talking, I'm getting like more saliva in my mouth, which is like. And this is a new thing that I'm experiencing, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure either this is to do with my age, which I'm only 31, so I don't think it is, but I think it is to do with like my swallowing function, and that it's producing like more saliva than
I
normal.
do, yeah, that I can relate to. Like, I do feel like sometimes, like, I stop talking more because I'm like, I feel like I've got a lot of saliva in my mouth.
Mm.
You
I don't
know,
know what
probably
is
because
that?
you're right. Yeah, we're not swallowing as much of it.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. But it was like I put something on my story about what was it about me I said I put something like having issues with my swallowing, and the amount of people that messaged me being like, ha ha ha, you've never had problems with your swallowing before, like. And I was like, guys, like, I know you're making sexual jokes here and like whatever, funny normally, but actually, have you ever had problems with your swallowing before? Have you ever actually choked on something and not been able to control it? Because it's not really something to joke about. Like, I'm all for a fun, like, you know, I'm not fucking boring and I'm not a prude, but you saying things like that to me when I've literally just said that actually this thing is quite distressing for me, it's not funny, and you would not be laughing if it was happening to you. Just
Yeah,
saying.
but helpful.
Yeah, so yeah, the swallowing thing sounds funny, but it's definitely not funny at all. What else have we got here on my fun list? I put obviously cognitive function, my memory. I don't
Does
know about
someone
you,
else
mate.
want to come in, Mum? Hang on.
We're going now.
And we're back again. Sorry, I was just saying to Kat, I was so pause. I was like, this is a hot mess. Trying to record somewhere else, and I've got nieces and nephews coming in, waving at the camera.
Hot mess is a vibe, mate.
Anyway, yeah, shall I go on to our next symptom?
Yeah, so I was just going to say about, again, talking about fatigue, which I know we have already talked about, and it's like, I feel like there's like not that much to say about fatigue, but also there is so much in that it's like, it isn't just being tired. Like we said earlier, it is like like I say, not being able to find an app on my phone, or even like trying to find something in my bag. I know this sounds really stupid, but sometimes I'll be like, if my vision's playing up as well, and I'm like trying to like go through my handbag trying to find something, I'm like, oh my god, like I can't even like use like my
breaking point.
Yeah, my cognitive function just isn't there, and I'm just like, it's so frustrating and also embarrassing if it's in front of people that, you know, you're trying to sort of hide it from a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, fatigue is such an invisible symptom, and it's very cliche, chronic illness, but it is crippling. Like, that is how it's felt for me the last couple of days, and it will pass, but I don't know when it will. So until then, I just sort of have to hang out on my own and just sort of try and get through the day and do the minimal amount. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I sort of, it's like my, obviously again, people that are listening can't see, but it's like my world will get smaller and smaller and smaller depending on how fatigued I am. And it's like my checklist of things I'll need to do in a day again will like get smaller if I'm super fatigued. So like, you know, today it's like the bare minimum for me. It's like doing this podcast, you know, I need to go and get some food and stuff to eat and take the dog around the block, and then that's it. Washing, clean, like the just general stuff, like day to day, that will be my day. Whereas obviously on a day where I'm not super fatigued, I can do a bit more and like have a bit more fun in life, that I can go out and do things that aren't just your kind of things that people take for granted every day. Like, I swear, like even just walking up the stairs, like people just take that for granted, that you can just pop up the stairs and you know, you don't think anything of it. I get to the top of my stairs and I'm like, oh my god, my legs feel like they're gonna fall off.
Yeah.
But I'm just so used to it. You just crack on with it, don't you, mate? I know you're the same as me.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we go up the stairs, I'm like, how do normal people, but how do people without fatigue feel after they walk up the stairs? Is it just like walking across the room? can't relate.
I would love to know what it's like to live in a normal person's body. I always think this. I always think that's why they gave me MS, was because I'd just be too crazy, too powerful if I had the energy.
Calm that girl down. Pipe that girl down.
Yeah, literally. Well, we need to hold it back in some kind of way. But because obviously I've had MS from such a young age, my normal is, I don't know, I just would love to give someone a test run in my body for the day just to see what they thought. Like, how does my energy compare to yours?
Like, have you seen that meme where it's like devil enters body and it's like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, what are all these feelings? And they're like, yep, welcome to my body.
Yeah, I feel like it's very accurate, and I feel like someone that would come into it be like, yeah, we'll give it a go, and they'll be like, get me the hell out of here ASAP. But yeah, the sort of cognitive stuff, memory. I think that's what I was going to say, actually, memory. So my memory is awful. I will literally have a conversation with Sam in the morning, and then it will get to the afternoon. I'm like, was that this morning? Like, what did I do? And I'll have a few conversations on the go, I don't know, that start in the morning, for example. In afternoon time, I'm like, I can't remember what I've said to what person, like if I'm repeating myself, like someone will say, remind me of something they've said, and I'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe I just forgot that. That was literally not even 12 hours ago, and it's just completely gone out of my brain. I just forget to do everything. I don't know how your memory is, Sam. Short-term memory, long-term memory.
Yeah. Again, probably I'd put mine down to a byproduct of fatigue, because when I'm not, like I said, I'm always tired. But when I'm like my normal level of tired, my memory's fine. So it's not like generally my memory is crap all the time. I think that it's just when I'm really tired, it gets worse.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting really screwed over by these brainstem lesions. I feel like this specific cluster of lesions has just given me so many annoying problems. I'm like, damn it. But I suppose, I don't know, they could be worse. Oh, this is an interesting one. Tinnitus.
Yeah. That's the ear ringing, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you get that?
I've had it, but yeah, I do probably. I haven't had it recently, but I do get it. Is
the way mine does it is really weird. It's not constant. So again, I'm just looking down over your paper. Paroxysmal symptom. and it sort of like it will sort of like amplify and like ring into my ear. So it happened last night, and it sort of will and then it will increase in intensity, so it's like actual tinnitus, and then it's almost like it fades out to the other, like sort of like fades through and then just fades out and disappears. It's like my hearing is like switched to a different mode. I don't know, like when you go from your microphone, if you've gone from being on your phone on your headphones to then going on to speakerphone, you know, that change in like the way it sounds, that's what it sort of happens. It's like a switch kind of flicks, and then it's sort of the ringing will sort of escalate, and then it just kind of stops and fades. It's really weird, very odd. But when I was in a relapse and when I was going through the withdrawal, tinnitus was one of the things. I don't know if it was MS related or if it was withdrawal related or both, because obviously both are interactions in the brain. But it was, I couldn't hear anything for like at least 3 days. And it was so annoying, but it's sort of calmed down a bit now. But I do know people with MS do struggle with tinnitus, like ongoing. So again, I'm quite grateful that it's only a little fade in and fade out every now and then. It's just weird when it happens. Okay, so this is the thing that I was quite interested in, is obviously mobility. So for me, my legs are not what they used to be. Like I think I could probably run on a good day maybe, but the thought of being able to go into, I wouldn't be able to train in the gym because I don't trust them. Like I don't trust a lot of heavy weight on them, because so my right leg is my more MSy leg, and this is the one that flares up pretty much at least every other day to some extent. And like last night I was literally dragging it around the kitchen with me, whereas today it's pretty much fine, like so far. But the issues are that it's like the muscles around my kneecap just don't work properly. So it's like it will just be floppy and it will just sort of give out. So to compensate for that, I sort of have to, because obviously I can't weight bear on it properly, so I sort of have to stiffen it and sort of put pressure on it to like, so I can hold my weight on my leg, if that makes sense. But then on the other side with my left leg, it's the opposite in that it goes stiff. So it's like my knee joint and it's like I can't straighten my leg properly. So on one side I've got floppy leg, which I'm trying to stiffen, and on the other side I've got stiff leg around my knee, which I'm trying to not be as stiff. So they're the problems with my mobility. And the right leg is the big problem. The right leg is what, you know, I would need like an aid sometimes to help me, because it is like, it just can't take my weight and it will just come on, and it's just really, really annoying. But obviously something that's interesting is that I think people assume, like when I say I've got, or when you just say you've got mobility issues or my leg's playing up, I think it might even be this for you, Sam, that your leg just goes numb, or that you just don't have any sensation like below the waist or whatever. And like, I think that's what I always assumed. Like, obviously people are like, oh my God, if you've got MS, like, you know, you're going to end up in a wheelchair. But no one actually talks about the reasons why people with MS end up in wheelchairs. And it's not just necessarily that they don't have sensation in their legs anymore. It's actually to do with the bits and bobs that make up their body aren't working. So for me, it's my knee joints. Like, they'll have so many issues with my knee or both knees that I can't walk properly a lot of the time. And then obviously it changes your gait, which is how you walk, which can then result in more symptoms, because I get loads of hip pain because I'm always trying to compensate because I can't walk properly.
Yeah, I get really severe hip pain. Well,
yeah,
not as severe as what I imagine it can get, but yeah, I get hip pain. Yeah, I can't walk. Obviously I can walk. Like you said, I think people assume if they got walking issues, but I haven't, because of the last few relapses, especially over the last couple of years, I've had like really attacked my mobility. And then I had one at the beginning of this year, like just before lockdown. So my like recovery even though, yeah, I'd say like, oh yeah, I've recovered from it. I haven't fully recovered because I haven't been able to go about and live my life daily, you know, like the just general activity and movement that you would normally have. But I can't really walk for longer than like, I don't know, this is going to sound pathetic, like a minute, two. It's really low. It's really low. Um, because like my brain just stops. The signals just don't work. Like my legs just won't bend. It won't work properly. It's like numbness and things I get. Like that's what has tended to be my relapses. But in general, like I can't walk because after the first like push, like 5 minutes, where I guess my body's on autopilot because like you just kind of like you know how to walk. Then it's like my brain realizes, oh shit, I'm walking. Okay, how do we do this? And then I just can't bend my legs properly, like at all. I just can't walk. But I have a walking stick and a wheelchair. I've had the walking stick for a long time because I've needed it, and I've only had the wheelchair since this year. I was really reluctant to begin with, but I'm like, no, it opened up like my world so much more because it would get to the point where like, I couldn't even walk around a supermarket. So you know, but yeah,
it's nothing. It's no.
my
It's something.
walking is like I personally how I feel about. I'd say my bladder's the worst because how I feel about it, but from like affecting your life, my walking is definitely the highest because like it's not exaggeration. Like I can't walk. Like in this week, people think, we get around your house okay, and I'm like, because it's different. Because I can't not walk because like
It's interesting you say that because I do loads of steps a day. Like that is my thing, is that because I can't train, that is my exercises. I'll do a lot of steps. When I'm walking, well, sometimes my right leg does play up, but it's more that, so I can do that, but then it's getting around the house and stuff that I really struggle with, in that it's like if my leg just goes dead or whatever, it's difficult to get around. But it only comes on like, it'll be random times where it comes on. Sometimes it comes on when I'm out walking and I'm like, and it looks like I poop myself when I'm walking because I'm just like waddling, but I'm so stubborn. I'm like doing these steps like if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah, like in general I can get around the house okay, like depending on like how the day is, like certain things can be a bit of a struggle, but in general, yeah, I can get around the house okay. So I would say to people like, I can't not walk because of like a strength thing or like a fitness thing. It's just because it's like my brain realizes that I'm walking and it starts putting too much like focus onto it, and I can't physically walk. Like, and if I push myself and try to go further, they just crumble. I just fall over. Like I just can't do it, you know. And it is one of those things that I do believe that I will be able to work on, but right now I haven't been able to because like the world is in the state it is and things are limited. But yeah, I just can't walk. I can, like, you know, people go, you can walk because I've seen you walking.
Oh god, I hate when people
And people
say
look at me if I walk like a short distance and they'll be like, well, you can walk. And I'm like, the internal battle that is going in with trying to get my legs to just bend and walk. But no one would realise that because it's such an autopilot thing, isn't it, to walk?
Yeah.
Like no, you don't tell your body how to walk. Like your brain like isn't normally like, right, bend your knee, lift your, like that's not a thing, is it? But
yeah, it's interesting that like this is kind of the point that I was trying to make, is that we both, you know, we'll both say, oh, we've got problems with our legs or we've got problems with our walking, and people are just like, oh right, okay. But actually what we both deal with in regards to our mobility is completely different. Like the issues that we deal with are completely different, but no one ever really bothers to ask. I always find it really nice when people ask me to explain things more in depth. So they'll be like, if I'll say, oh, my leg's playing up, they'll be like, well, you know, what does that mean? Like what happens when your leg plays up? Rather than just being like, oh, okay, making an assumption. I really like it when people actually ask questions about my MS, because it is such a complex illness. Like I feel like we've shown that in just this podcast, in just how all over the place it can be, all these different symptoms, when the symptoms come, why they come, what's a relapse, what's not a relapse. It's like it's mad, this
Yeah,
illness.
that'd be one of my things that I would like. If anyone's listening that doesn't have MS, but has someone around them that does, or they want to learn a bit more, like, don't be afraid to ask. Like, it really, and I guess we're not speaking for everyone. Like we've said this before, this is just mine and Katt's journey, our experiences. So again, this is how we feel, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how everyone will feel. But I have like no problem with people asking at all. What I do have a bit of a problem with, I get my back up with, is that if the same person asks the same thing over and over, like, fine, 2 or 3 times, because it is something new to them and it is hard to comprehend. I've no problem like explaining something, but I must admit personally, I do get my back up a little bit when the same people ask me the same thing as if they've never asked me it before. And I get a bit deflated where I think I can't be bothered because I have told you. Like, it'd be fine if they say, oh, I know you've said it before, but like, just again, or, or just remind me, like, it's fine. But sometimes because people can't comprehend it, they ask the question and don't listen.
Yeah.
Don't ask the question if you're not going to listen. Ask away, fine, but make sure that you're in a place and you've got the time to actually listen to the answer, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, the amount of times that people will just say to me again, like, so what does your treatment do? So what does your treatment do? What does your treatment do? Are you better now? So your treatment's made you feel better now? And I haven't got a problem if it was phrased the same as like, can you just remind me again, like, how this is helping you? Like, can you just, or like, you say, oh, I know I've asked you before, but do you mind if I ask again? But it's where you can tell they've re-asked you because they didn't listen the first time. That's what bugs me.
I agree with that. And I also think there's a way to ask people. Like, I share on my social media what I choose to share. Like, I will talk about my experiences and stuff, but it's when people will ask really, like, if we haven't been having conversation, it will just be sort of like a really like blunt way of asking, be like, oh, so like, how's the brain doing? And it's like, I don't even talk to you, I don't know you, like, and actually there's a way of asking me that is way more polite than that, and more, what's the word I'm looking for? See, this is brain fog.
Compassionate? It's probably not the right word, but yeah,
appropriate. Like, just like, I don't know. I'm like you said, Sam, I love it. I love it when people want to know things. Like, I love talking about it, and it helps me to process, this illness, and
I think that I have to try cut people some slack, because I like use humor massively as a coping mechanism, and I make jokes and I keep things pretty light a lot. But then sometimes, like you said, people that I'm not that close to will crack a joke, or they'll say something really insensitive, and I'll be like,
no.
excuse me. And I think, don't bite Sam, because you've given them that impression that that's okay. Like, I don't know, it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it?
I notice I do use humour a lot to deal with things, and I think it's just a coping mechanism. But I feel like I used to use humour to kind of like make other people feel more comfortable as well. So I try to not do that as much now, because I just think, sorry if you feel uncomfortable, but
can we please do another episode on that?
Yeah.
Like, other maybe, like, I don't know what we'd title it, but outside influences, because that's something that I've so massively learned over the years, that I'm like, I don't care if my illness makes you feel uncomfortable. I'm sick and tired of having to laugh at your joke because you'll feel awkward if I don't. Like, there's one case in specific which I'm not going to talk about on here because I don't know if the person's listening. And but I'll tell you about it afterwards. But it's prime an ongoing joke that for years I have laughed at to prevent that person from feeling like they're being mean or feeling awkward. And I got to the point where I'm like, it's really not funny, and I really don't find it funny. So if you get met with silence, that's on you if you feel uncomfortable, because I feel fine.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like I say, it's like the swallowing thing. It's like, no, that wasn't an appropriate thing to make
Yeah.
a joke about, like, because it's actually really distressing, and you wouldn't be laughing.
No, I'm sorry that my symptoms are affecting you in some way.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember what I was going to say now, but yeah, you can tell me about that when we're finished.
Have you got any other symptoms?
Have a look. Oh, my vision. I mean, there's so many things. It's just like, it's like Pandora's bloody box. Oh my God, there's so many. Let me see if I can smash through them.
Okay. Yeah, I thought, yeah.
So my vision goes blurry, like on and off to different extents. That was one of my first ever symptoms. I have also had crystal clear double vision, which was a relapse, but that resolved and I haven't had that since. My blurriness is in like my neuritis, I think that's what it is, comes and goes all the time. That's like one of my main symptoms. But then I also get where I can't like look at screens or writing properly, which is really annoying because I love reading and writing. So in the evening, trying to reply to messages as well, like it's like my brain can't register the black on the white, or if it's white on black or black on white. It takes me so long to read like a sentence, and it's the most frustrating thing. And it's like how I imagine someone that is dyslexic it would be for them, in that it just looks like a big blur of just blob of text all over the page, and my brain can't figure it out. And also I get like a thing where it's like across all of my vision there's like black, like kind of see-through black splodges, so I can see, but it's just everything is just a bit darker, and it's really difficult, like you said earlier, like I'll say to people, I can't see. Well, obviously I can see, like I can see, but it's also that I can't, like there's certain things my brain just doesn't register. Because it's like I said it to someone recently, and I was like, made a joke about it, like you say. I was like, oh, I just being blind or whatever. Someone was like, oh, can you not wear glasses? I was like, no, it's like I do wear glasses, but it's like a neurological thing. And then I realised that obviously afterwards I was getting in my car to drive, and I did say to them, I was like, I've obviously just told you that I can't see. It's not that I can't see, it's just quite difficult to explain. And also I feel like that kind of ties into sensory overload. I don't know if you get that, Sam, but it's like, this is how I would describe it. So how you would feel walking into a busy club that, you know, you step in and it's just laser lights, like fucking noise, like really loud, really just busy atmosphere, like visual overload as well. Like I would get that just walking like down the street. Like that feeling of just being so overwhelmed by any like noise, or like someone coming near me, or like I'm just literally like with everything. It's like,
yeah, I get sensory overload a lot. Like sometimes, like you said, even walking into a supermarket can be like, yeah, with like, especially everything really. I think I've like, so like HSP or something, like highly sensitive person. Like I get sensory overload really easy with like, yeah, vision, sound, smells.
oh, that's my superhero power.
Honestly, everything. This is so like strong to me.
Can you, with your smell, like, I think it is probably the same thing. I can literally smell people in their houses. This sounds really weird. Or I can smell someone in their garden. Or if I walk past someone, or like on the other side of the street and I smell their like perfume, it's like a superhuman like smell thing, which sounds cool. Like, oh yeah, I can like smell
It's
this
also
stuff.
gross when you're like in a hospital or something and
Oh
the
my
smell
God,
you want to be smelling.
yeah, like it's not like, it's like you can smell all this
Frank
cooking.
always says to me, he's always like, you're so picky, and I'm like, it stinks, and he's like, everything stinks to you, and I'm like, because everything does stink.
Yeah, it does. Oh, I just got the tinnitus thing as well. It's just doing it on. It's just going to fade out. It'll just do it and then it'll go away. But yeah, the smell thing is really odd. Like I say, like walking past someone's garden and being able to smell them in it. It's like,
Ew.
it can be nice when it is like a food smell, but like you say, when it's a rank smell, you're literally just like, oh my God, this is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's interesting. You just reminded me saying about that. But yeah, sensory overload is big, and like it makes me angry. I get really stressed with it. I'm like, oh, just shut the fuck up. Like,
So stressed. Yeah.
yeah.
Especially like noise for me.
Mhm.
Like if it's sensory overload from noise, that's all the irritation. Like I can't explain how much it bothers me to my core. Like it's almost like oh yeah,
It
sensory
makes me
overload with
laugh.
loud noises makes me just want to scream.
Yeah, that is what I get. When was it? I was on the phone to my mum in Sainsbury's. I had her on my headphones. I was walking around the other day, and they were putting like noises out, like over the tannoy, like, thank you for coming to Sainsbury's, blah, blah. But it was like it because I had sensory overload. It was so loud, and I was just going, shut up, like out loud, like to my mum down the phone. I was like, I can't hear. I couldn't have a conversation with her until this tannoy lady had stopped talking because it was just too intense for me. But people were like watching me, listening to me, and I'm like, what is she on? Like, what is
Chill
the
out.
problem?
Chill out.
Yeah, shut up.
Mm.
I was like, you're so annoying. Shut up, lady. Yeah, so there's that one. What else have we got on my lovely list of fun? Numbness. Oh, actually, with the vision thing, this is one thing. My vision goes really desaturated. So it'll be like all the colours, everything is more like is it monotone? Like when it's greys and blacks and whites, the colour of things will just be like really reduced. I remember like I went on my phone and I was like, oh, the brightness must be turned right down, and then realised that it was actually just my vision and all the photos looked like grey, and I was like, oh, that's really odd. Let's have a look. Yeah, numbness. Like you get numbness as well, don't you? My head, it's generally my right side, so like all down my head, my arm, my hands, my
Yeah, I
leg,
get it
my
in like my
foot.
fingertips and things.
When you're holding things, like what's that like for you? Because that is another thing on my list, is that I have to have this on my phone, which is obviously
Yeah.
you can't
Oh, I'm
if you're not.
using my phone as the camera, but I've got a pop socket on it thing as well because I can't hold it without it.
Yeah, this thing saves my life. So for anyone listening, it's a Momo stick, they're called. It's like MOMO stick. And you just stick it on the back of your phone and it looks like a plaster. But I literally will lie in bed with that hooked onto my finger because I can't grip things. And if I do grip things, I can grip things, but it's not for an extended period of time. So you know how someone would lie in bed and hold their phone? Like if I didn't have that stick, I wouldn't be able to use my phone, basically.
No, I can't. That's kind of the same as my legs. Like the damage has been done for my relapses. Like I can't straighten this side of my little finger.
You
I just
showed me
can't,
that before.
like at all. Obviously, the rest of my fingers are straight. If I went from that way, I can't.
That's mad.
I just can't. Like yeah, because when I've
Yeah.
had it in my hands, it's been like these two, like your ring
Yeah, I
finger.
get those two.
Yeah, it's always those two.
Yeah, they're like numb and dead for me a lot of the time. They are right now. So it also has affected my writing. So I can't write properly now, and my handwriting changes depending on how much my symptoms are flaring up. Which is
Anyone
annoying.
that's just listening, not watching us, I've got a bent little finger. That's what I was doing, showing my
I
bent.
always forget that people are listening and not just watching. What was I gonna say? See, look, my brain today is terrible. Oh yeah, with my writing. So like it's ring finger and pinky finger on my right hand are pretty much just dead. It's like they're not attached to my body. It's like just can't really feel them. And that will flare up in intensity as well. Sometimes it's just completely gone and I just can't feel anything. And then sometimes it's like all right. So, and my hands go dead. So like yesterday I was eating my dinner, I had to keep putting my fork down because it feels like all the blood's just drained out your hands and I just can't grip anything.
Yeah, I don't get it anymore. I had like about a year. It lasted a really long time. Of like, at night time, if you would fall asleep on like your arms and your hands would go dead, like when the blood goes out of it and you have to like drain the blood back into it
Yeah.
kind of thing. I was constantly getting that every single night, even though I wasn't laying like on my limbs.
What is that in your hands?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I get still, like all the time.
every single night they'd go like dead to the point where it'd take me so long to be able to move them if I woke up from it in the night. And I did say to my MS nurses about it. That's another thing. They were like, you should take amitriptyline.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was getting so bad that I was worried that I was going to have like real permanent damage there, because I was waking up from it and not being able to move my hands at all, and I wasn't like, like nothing. And they were like, oh, you need to take amitriptyline, and I was like, I don't want to, and it has just stopped, thank God.
Was that them just going like dead? Like was it painful?
Yeah, it was painful because they were it was painful, but I think it's because they were so dead, like could not move them at all for like minutes. It would take a long time for it to come back.
Yeah.
They just stopped. It did just stop. Don't get it anymore now. Like sometimes I get it, but like how anyone would get it when I wake up and I've had like my arm under my pillow and I've like leant on my arm or something. But I don't get it like for no reason anymore.
Yeah, that is one that I do struggle with, like when, especially like in the evenings, or even just being on my phone for extended periods of time, like we just want to scroll Instagram or whatever. It's like I have to keep putting my phone down and shaking my hands out, and then having another go. And it was when I was eating my dinner yesterday, like holding my fork, I was getting it, and I was like having to keep having rest between mouthfuls. I was like, this is annoying. So yeah, there's another one. Hands going dead and being annoying. What else have we got? I get a really sore scalp. Have we talked about this before? I think we have. It feels like I've had my hair in a really tight ponytail all day. You know that feeling where it feels like just your hair's been pulled? Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I know the feeling, but from you describing that, like I know the feeling from having my hair pulled in a ponytail, but I don't get that without that.
Feels like that pretty much all the time, but it also feels really nice when anyone touches my head. So like, because it feels so tender. I've got one of those things, that you can like massage your own head with, like the claw things. Really good. But also when your head's numb, don't do it, because it feels really, really weird. Would not recommend. Let's have a little look. Just trying to get the heat thing we have talked about. Obviously I feel like I'm on fire all the time. Sitting next to a fire, but then also I've had it the other way in that I've been freezing cold, like, and I feel like so cold all the time. My temperature regulation is just all off. Like I'm either boiling hot or freezing cold. And I did have this hot water bottle, which is called Hippo, which I took to rehab with me. That my friend Jade got me, and it's literally I bought another one because it was so minging, because I'd used it so much. I was scared that because I needed to wash it, and I was scared that it was going to like break in the washing machine, but it didn't. It's just a bit skanky, but I've got two now. But anyway, yeah, temperature regulation is something I struggle with. I don't know if you do have that as well, Sam.
Yeah, massively. Especially my feet. My feet are either feeling like they're on fire or stone cold. And my whole body. Like I feel like I'm never a normal temperature, but like my feet especially. They're either on fire or they're freezing cold.
Yeah, mine was always freezing, and more recently it's gone to that just feeling really hot and having like hot flashes and stuff, which is really weird. Just random stabbing head pain. I don't know if you get that. It feels literally, I'm assuming they're a form of headache, but it's literally, it just feels like I'm just being stabbed at various points all over my head, and that can last for an evening, it can last for half an hour, it just really kind of depends. At some point in my life, both of my hands have just stopped working, like either my left hand or my right hand. Like in relapses, I've just not been at this, they've just been dead.
Oh yeah.
So
oh yeah, that massively, like can't hold cutlery, like
yeah, it's like,
but that's been in my relapses for me.
I think unless you've had a limb actually stop working, you can't put into words how scary it is. But then at the same time, it's also not scary, because it's just sort of like, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, that's the whole point, I guess, of this episode, isn't it? To make these things not so scary for people, because when you're prepared that it could happen, it's less scary. I mean, it's you know, obviously we're not taking away from how it feels, but there's hopefully less worry that you're like, is this normal? Like, has this happened to other people?
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean I have both grip in both of my hands is pretty like solid now.
Yeah,
Um,
my right is a bit like slower. Again, if no one's like watching,
yeah.
they're gonna be like, she just went quiet. I was just showing like how quickly my left hand can go up and down, and then how like slower like my right hand does.
Yeah. I'd say I don't know, my right hand feels different always to my left hand, but actually strength wise, because obviously I couldn't even press the button on my phone screen with my right hand when I was in that relapse. It was so bad. But I find it so interesting, like I say, that, you know, I've had my hands completely stop working and it has come, and, you know, I have got function back. And I think that is
Ooh.
why people don't see MS to be that bad, because our symptoms can resolve and do get better in a weird way. So it's like, yeah, my hands are working now, but there is damage left over from what did happen when they both completely stopped working, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to like hammer through these now. Claw hand, had that before, where my hand's gone into spasm and it has literally been trapped in a claw, which was really scary because it happened like over the course of a day, and it was getting like worse and worse and worse, and all the muscles in the palm of my hand were going into spasm, and I could not unclaw my hand, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, please stop. That did eventually stop. And also the muscles down my side went into spasm, so I was like pulled over like a pretzel. That was fun. And I just couldn't stand up straight, which obviously was not good for my back injury. Quite often it feels like the muscles all across my back just ripple. I don't know if you get that, Sam. It's like sometimes it normally comes from the bottom upwards, and it just feels like someone's like running their fingers up my
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
But it's like a rippling of the muscles.
I could relate to that.
Yeah, it's like a crawling. It's like a weird thing. Obviously spasms that you can actually visually see are always weird. Like I get them in my face, in my eye, like in my arm.
Yeah, I
They'll just
get
be
them
like little.
in a bit of my arm.
Oh, they're so annoying.
Yeah, gross to look at.
Yeah, oh, they're weird, aren't they? I'll put here about the Momo stick. So one of my things is that I go really spaced out and weird. I don't know if you get this, but I've spoken to someone else that said she kind of it feels like you're on drugs or you're drunk. So it's like everything is really like bright, and I don't know, it's like you feel just high. Like you just sort of like in Cloud Cuckoo Land, but like I think it's like visually, again, it's like a sensory thing, I'm assuming. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's really, well, obviously that was why I used to get so anxious, because it used to happen randomly, and I'd be like trying to have a conversation with someone important and be like, oh my god, what is going on in my head? Like, why is everything so weird all of a sudden? But yeah, that is something I get quite a lot. But I don't panic anymore when it happens. Like I'll be having a conversation and go all like lightheaded and weird, and I'll just be like, oh, it's just my MS. Like this is what it just does sometimes. Not sleeping. I didn't sleep for nearly 2 years, pretty much. I was getting like 4 hours a night, if that. And that was MS related, and that was horrendous. Obviously, your standard tremors. And anxiety is a symptom for me, in that it's like a shortness of breath I get. So I'll sort of be like sort of, but it's really hard to explain. But I think that's why they thought it was like as I was describing it to the doctors, they thought it was anxiety. But you get really sort of like just feel like I was out of breath all the time, which apparently is really rare in MS. But you know, just because it's rare doesn't mean can't be happening to me. And just feeling just gross and grotty. We talked about this earlier, and just uncomfortable and just a bit like weird, like oh, and nausea. Do you get nausea? I get nausea.
Not really.
Oh, it's rank. It just literally feels like I'm on a boat, like seasickness, and I'll just be like, I'm going to vomit. But I don't actually be sick. I just feel so sick. And yeah, I think that's pretty much. Oh, and laughing and crying out of nowhere, I do that as well. Like, I'll be laughing at something that's like completely like not even funny, and everyone will be like, and I'll be like, and then it'll be like, this is an inappropriate. There's actually a name for that. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, there is. I can't think what it's called, but there is, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've rushed through these last ones because I just feel we will literally, I think we've been doing this for like 2 hours now. So
I think we're probably over 2 hours now.
yeah, there's a lot.
It's sense, isn't it?
But I mean, like, that is like what we've obviously talked about is just such a wide range of symptoms that this is what we deal with every day. This is what a person with MS potentially deals with every day. Like, I just like to say to like a normal person in their quotes, like, imagine trying to live your life normally with all those barriers of all those. I know that sometimes they don't sound like much, like, oh yeah, it's just this symptom, like it doesn't even, but it's like it affects our lives so much because we're constantly having to take into account how we're managing all these things, and also that they're just invisible. Like, we're sitting here talking, I'm looking at us on the screen, we look fine, we look healthy, we look happy, we're like, you know, there's nothing wrong with us from visually, but actually we've just talked for over 2 hours about all of the things that affect our lives dramatically on a daily basis. And I find it awful that MS isn't taken seriously because it's not terminal. Like, that seems to be the kind of like, oh, it's not going to kill you, so you're fine, you know. And it's like, well, no, like that, I just don't agree with that at all. Like, I think it affects people's lives differently, but it affects some people's lives on such a massive scale. And for people that are so young, I'm 31 and quite significantly disabled, and I don't have a problem with using that word or saying that because I have a disability that isn't my fault, but I'm 31, I'm young, and that all this stuff is happening in my body, and it's firstly traumatic, it's painful, and it's like, it's a big deal. And I think just because you can't see it, people don't really seem to get that. And that's what I would really just, for anyone that doesn't have MS that's listening, to just actually be like, oh shit, you know what, actually that's actually sounds quite awful, and it's not going to go away either. It's not like we can take some medicine and all this stuff just stops for us. Like, this is it, this is our lives now. So
it'd be quite nice, wouldn't it, if there was some Calpol or something, that sort of thing there, just
yeah,
take.
I would definitely take that. But you know, as we said last week, all these things that we've talked about today, we manage them like to our best of our ability in the ways we kind of talked about last week a bit. But yeah, like I say, the thing I would like people without MS to take away from me is just actually the extent of what we deal with every day. And it may look like we're not trying or we're being lazy or whatever, but I'll tell you what, we are trying 24/7. So yeah, that's all I really want to say on the matter.
Yeah, I feel I've prime example, like you said, of looking fine and feeling like I've, you know, at the start of this episode I was probably like throwing things in. If anyone listens, probably think, I don't know if I seem like I've gone a bit like quieter, but I feel like I've kind of hit a bit of a wall.
Yeah,
like fatigue and brain fog, where it's taking me all my sort of like concentration to, like, I'm listening to you sort of thing and taking it in, and I just
No, I can tell, mate, because I get it exactly the same, and it's like,
yeah.
I can imagine you're probably thinking, I can't wait to just be able to just relax and like have some.
But it's not even just that, like, and it's fine not with you, because like, you know, like that it's because I'm listening and stuff, but when I get it with other people, I always worry that they think I'm disinterested, because I'm very aware that that is what it comes across like, you know, like obviously you know what it is and stuff, and I can say like, I am listening to you. I might just seem like I'm like away with fairies, but I do worry sometimes with people that I might, like, especially when I'm face to face or like calls like this, like I hope they don't think that I'm like bored or like disinterested, because I know that brain fog and fatigue can come across like that. because it's almost like someone could say loads of things to you and you'll be like, and it's just because I don't have my my amount of words or whatever has been used up for the day.
No, I'm with you on that. I've like I say, like we've been doing this for like what, I don't know, 2.5 hours. I'm feeling it too. Like after this, I'm gonna have a sit down and have some food and like I don't know. That will be me. My activity for the day has been completed, but yeah, we'll wrap it up there because I'm also feeling pretty brain foggy, and I'm actually quite proud that I've made it through this episode. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add, Sam?
No, I don't think so. Not that I can think of at the moment, but obviously as we go on with the episodes, I'm sure little things like this will come out, won't they? That we experience.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to talk about symptoms more, like, you know, as we go, because it is an ongoing thing. But I think, like I say, I think it's quite important to sort of just tell people the extent of what we deal with every day. And I think when you actually hear it all kind of late, when I looked at my list last night, I just thought, wow, like that's a lot of things that we deal with. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for listening. If you've made it this far, like gold star for you.
Pat on the back.
Yeah, well deserved. But obviously any questions or any sort of follow-up things or anything you'd want us to discuss or anything you'd want us to discuss in future on the podcast or just any feedback is obviously greatly appreciated.
I'll pop it all in the description bar. That's a point below, but it won't be below. Well, I guess it will be on YouTube, won't it? It will be below.
Yeah, it will. And I need to be a bit more on it with the WhatMS kind of social media this week, but I have been just like a puddle of sludge for the last week. So yeah, normal service will resume. But
We'll resume. Fab, right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. See you next week.